connecting. And I want to bring on our next speaker because her title just drew me. I've only known her a little bit, but Mary Jane Roy is going to come and talk to us today about the value of being valued. Something that is so needed during this time because we're not sure how value comes across. We're not sure how value is seen by others. But Mary Jane is going to show us how value is being valued. If she comes up.
I'm there. I'm here.
All right. Fantastic. Mary Jane, show us what value means. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so I'm going to start with a quote of William James. He said, "Our deepest craving is to be appreciated." And has greatly puzzled me over the years is why we don't show our appreciation in our workspaces and in our homes to our colleagues and loved ones more often. It's an act of kindness which doesn't cost a dime, yet can reap so much benefit if done sincerely. And as a side benefit, an extra bonus, it boosts our own longevity. And there's a lot of research into that. So we'll talk a little bit about research as well in this 8 minutes or so that I have with you. So one of our basic needs is the need for being recognized and valued in a group. And when we receive this recognition, trust is built and respect follows versus judgment. And Yatunda, she spoke a little bit about that. That builds even more trust. So the employee who receives regular, sincere appreciation is one who's going to go that extra mile when it's needed. I'm really hoping here, a thought just popped into my head, but I'm really hoping here that I can create a business case to demonstrate how something like valuing and showing how you value your employees and your family members, those dearest to you, that there's actually a benefit to this, monetary, but also emotionally, physically. So Kimberly Weifling, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name, Weifling perhaps, she's a global leadership and business management consultant. She's worked with people from over 50 countries. And she stated in an article, and I'm going to read it to you, because I don't want to misquote her. One global truth is that people like to be appreciated in a sincere, selective, specific, and timely way. Leaders who use the attitude of gratitude, and by the way, I've got a program that I call Attitude of Gratitude, they reap big business benefits, all right? So she went on to say, noticing and praising others' best talents and temperaments enables them to flourish. Inevitably, part of the positive blowback, or maybe blow forward, is that those who praise in this way inevitably benefit along the way. Now, there's a lot of research done by Barbara Fredrickson. She's a positive psychologist. And one of the things that stands out in the research that I've done about her work is her minimum 3-to-1 ratio for thriving workspaces. And what this means is that for every criticism, critical feedback that somebody receives, they need to hear at least 3 sincere compliments in order to keep that relationship thriving. Now, one thing that she'd shown was that in our current workplaces, we're not even doing 1-to-1 in some cases. And I know that in the Netherlands, where I'm based the last 27 years, that there really seems to be a culture around the, well, you're doing good work, why should I have to tell you that? I'm only going to tell you when it's going wrong. Now, obviously, this is not the way to win the hearts of your people. So I just want to say something about her research, because some of you may know her. And I know that there was some controversy regarding how the statistical analysis was done. But regardless of how that was done, the research holds up. So I just want to stress that. Another positive psychologist, or actually a psychologist, is John Gottman. And he's been doing research, I think 40 years or so, into personal relationships. And there the ratio is at least 5-to-1. And in the research they did back, I think it was in the 90s, they could predict with 94% accuracy after listening to, I believe it was 15 or 20-minute conversations of newly married couples on which marriages would still be intact in 6 years. All right, 94%. So acts of kindness, appreciation for the partner's interests played heavily in a marriage's success. So what I really want to point out here is that appreciation, showing gratitude, it's much like resilience. It's another favorite topic of mine. You can think about acquiring this trait as either something that's fixed, you have it or you don't, or you can think of it as a muscle. And that's often how we refer to resiliency training, is your brain is like a muscle. You can develop a stronger sense of resiliency. So in some people, the appreciation muscle is naturally stronger than in others, but it can grow stronger in everyone if you utilize it. And I guess one of the messages that I want to bring across in this few minutes is you can teach an old dog new tricks. How? It's called neuroplasticity of the brain. Our brains are malleable. And during the last 20 years or so, researchers discovered that our brain, unlike they thought previously that it stopped developing after we were in our 20s, it continues to develop new neural pathways, new neural connections until the day we die. So, you know, we can learn new traits. We can learn new behaviors, and showing appreciation should be an easy one because it benefits so many, and also yourself. So the other thing we know now about the brain is it's got a negativity bias, and it's a primitive survival trait. Negative events, they call them sticky events. They stick really well. And Dr. Rick Hansen, I love his quote, and I'm paraphrasing it somewhat, but the brain is like Velcro for negativity and Teflon for positivity. And often in workshops or trainings, I'll ask people, of the 100 things you've done today, them went well. What's going to be keeping you awake at night? Are you going to be running through all the things that you did well, complimenting yourself for what you did well? Or, and I'll put the proverbial 3 dots after that question, most of us are going to be awake with the one thing that went wrong. Being said, we can develop positivity, and just the same way as we can develop a skill such as appreciation for ourselves and for others. So there is a rule of thumb on how to develop positivity. They call it savoring the good, and it's sort of the stop and smell the roses theory. But if we stop and savor for 5 to 20 seconds, those things that are going well, we start developing those new neural pathways, new neural connections that are going to lead to greater positivity. So appreciate those things. Be grateful for the roses that you've got in your life. Now, companies are driven to innovate, keep their top talent. However, without expensive bonuses, yes, of course, they can sometimes work extremely well, but a leader can ensure that his or her team members' loyalty and engagement is by recognizing the work they've done or are doing. And this is a quote by Tom Peters. It takes more time, but one at a time. 15-second praising is 10 times more valuable than a group way to go gang. Now, research confirms that individuals who receive regular recognition and praise, they increase their individual productivity, increase engagement, and I heard that mentioned earlier, amongst colleagues, and are more likely to stay with organizations, receive higher loyalty, and someone mentioned it earlier, the satisfaction scores from customers are greater. So it can really make a difference to the bottom line. And there's a region in our brains that's called the Ventral Striatum, and this is where our sense of rewards and safety are processed. Something like eating chocolate, receiving a nice pat on the back, or hearing a compliment from a friend. It's that part of the brain which is activated. So paying someone a compliment can be such a powerful act, and it benefits, again, both the giver and the receiver. So not only the reward system of their brain is triggered, but we also boost our own level of happiness. Why wouldn't we want to do this? I don't understand it, but it still has to ingrained in our organizations. And Joss Bersin also stated, I'm going to quote, I will read the quote, employees told us they feel much better when their peers recognize them. And why is this? Peers know what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So when they say thank you for your efforts, the impact is much more meaningful. So my call to action, commit to expressing your appreciation both with colleagues and with your family. Maybe every day for the next week, find something, express appreciation for something, that they're doing routinely that makes your business run better. And just remember, there is something about giving the garment of praise that clothes you as well. And with that, Steve, I will come back to you.
Mary Jane, I love this. I had to run and find a special prop for you.
Is Steve there?
Yes, I'm here. What she did was bring his foundation, just like this brick that I had from my university that I absconded that I shouldn't tell you about because I could get in trouble 40 years later. But what she talked about was foundational to what we do.
So did I...
Mary Jane, you're still there. I got you. Can you hear me? I love the points that she made, being kind and valuing others and valuing what we're doing in our organizations and focusing on what is good in people and not just focusing on the slight negatives and having them hold us up. Mary Jane, thank you so much for your message. It was really on point. And like I said, foundational. Very, very good.